But the heat in Marco's gaze told her everything. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The compound upstate was stunning, a modern fortress disguised as a luxury estate. 20 acres of grounds, guard towers hidden among trees, and a main house that could survive a military siege. Sophia had been there for a week with Isabella. Marco visited every day, spending hours with their daughter. Watching him hold Isabella, sing to her in Italian, smile at her tiny coos, it broke something open in Sophia's chest. This was the man she'd fallen in love with. Not the cold Don who'd shattered her heart, but the man underneath. The one who'd held her through nightmares and brought her mother flowers every Sunday. "You're staring." Marco glanced up from where he sat on the floor, shaking a rattle for Isabella. "You're good with her," Sophia said softly. "Natural. I'm terrified every second she's in my arms." He said it so honestly that Sophia laughed. Marco Valentini, feared by the entire East Coast, terrified of a 4-month-old baby. "That means you're doing it right." His phone buzzed. Marco's expression darkened as he read the message. "I need to take this call. Will you go?" Sophia took Isabella. "We're fine." She watched him leave, then settled into the nursery's rocking chair with their daughter. Through the window, she could see Marco pacing on the terrace, his body language tense. Something was wrong. An hour later, Marco burst back into the room. His face was a mask of barely controlled rage. "We need to talk," he said. "Now." Sophia put Isabella in her crib and followed him downstairs. Luca was there, along with 3 other men Sophia didn't recognize. They had someone with them, a man zip-tied to a chair, his face bloodied. "Marco, what?" "Tell her," Marco ordered the man. "Tell her who hired you." The man's eyes found Sophia. "Victor Martinez. Her brother." The world tilted. "No. Victor's in Miami." "He doesn't." "Your brother has been working with the Russos for 2 years," Luca explained. "He's the one who told them about your connection to Marco. He's the one who's been following you." Sophia couldn't breathe. "Why would he?" "Money." Marco's voice was cold fury. "The Russos promised him a percentage of my territory if he helped them find my weakness. He sold you out, Sophia. He sold out his own sister and niece." "No." But even as she said it, pieces fell into place. Victor's sudden, expensive apartment. His questions about her past. His insistence that she visit Miami, bringing Isabella. He'd been trying to deliver them to the Russos. "Where is he?" Sophia heard herself ask. "We don't know yet. He disappeared after the attack on my penthouse. But we will find him." Marco stepped closer. "Sophia, I need you to understand something. Your brother betrayed you. Betrayed Isabella. And in my world, there are consequences." "I know." Sophia's voice was steady, even as her heart shattered. "I know what has to happen." Marco studied her face. "Are you sure?" She thought of Isabella, sleeping upstairs. Innocent. Perfect. Everything good in the world. "My daughter's safety comes first," Sophia said quietly. "Always." Something shifted in Marco's expression. Respect, maybe. Or recognition. That night, after the interrogation continued in the compound's basement, Sophia found Marco on the terrace. He stood at the railing, staring out at the dark grounds. "How do you do it?" she asked. "Live with the things you have to do? By remembering why I do them." He turned to face her. "Every decision I make, every order I give, it's to protect what's mine. My family. My people." His hand reached out, cupping her face. "You. Isabella. I'm not yours, Marco. Aren't you?" His thumb stroked her cheekbone. You've been mine since the moment you spilled champagne on my suit and looked at me like I was just a man. Not a boss. Not a monster. Just Marco. Sophia's breath caught. He was so close. She could feel the heat of him, smell his cologne, the same one he'd worn 5 years ago. "We can't go back," she whispered. "No." His forehead touched hers. "But we could go forward. I'm not cut out for your world." "You already are. You left our daughter at my door knowing what I am. You just accepted that your brother's actions have consequences. You're stronger than you think, Sophia." "Marco." He kissed her. Soft at first, then deeper as she melted against him. 5 years of longing, of pain, of love that never quite died, it all poured into that kiss. When they finally broke apart, Sophia was shaking. "I can't lose you again," Marco whispered against her lips. "I can't watch you walk away. Not now. Not ever." "Then don't make me," she said. "Don't lie to me. Don't push me away to protect me. If we do this, if we try, I need all of you. The truth. The darkness. Everything. Everything," he agreed. "Starting with this, I love you. I never stopped. And I will burn this entire world down to keep you and Isabella safe." Sophia kissed him again, and this time it felt like coming home. But in the basement below, her brother was giving up information that would change everything. The Russos weren't working alone. There was someone bigger. Someone who'd been planning this for years. And they were just getting started. The attack came at dawn. Sophia woke to gunfire. For a moment, she was disoriented. Then training Marco had insisted on kicked in. She rolled out of bed, grabbed Isabella from the nursery, and ran for the panic room. The compound's alarms were screaming. Through the windows, she saw muzzle flashes. Multiple entry points. This wasn't a raid, it was an army. Marco appeared, gun in hand, dressed in tactical gear. "Safe room. Now." "What's happening?" "The Russos brought everyone. Genovese. Colombo. Every family that wants me dead." His voice was calm, but his eyes were wild. "They're making their move." "How many?" "Too many." He kissed her hard, then kissed Isabella's head. "I love you both. Remember that." "Marco, no." But he was already gone, barking orders into his radio. Sophia sealed herself and Isabella in the panic room, a reinforced bunker beneath the house with its own air supply and communication systems. Through the monitors, she watched hell unfold. Marco's men were outnumbered 3-1. The enemy forces were coordinated, professional. They breached the outer walls within minutes. But they'd underestimated Marco Valentini. Sophia watched her daughter's father become what legends were made of. He moved through the compound like death incarnate, efficient, brutal, unstoppable. Every shot found its target. Every decision was calculated. But there were too many. "Marco, East Wing is compromised," Luca's voice crackled over the radio. "They're heading for the main house." "Fall back to the central point," Marco ordered. "Protect the bunker entrance." They were coming for Isabella. Sophia held her daughter close, her heart pounding. The panic room would hold. Marco had said it could withstand anything. But watching him fight, seeing him take hit after hit, was torture. Then she saw him on the monitor. Victor. Her brother, walking through the compound with a tablet, directing the enemy forces. He knew the layout. Anthony Russo, the heir to the Russo Empire. "Heard you have something that belongs to." He stopped when he saw the baby in Marco's arms. For a moment, nobody moved. Isabella's cries filled the silence. "A baby." Russo's face showed genuine shock. "The great Marco Valentini has a kid?" "Leave," Marco said quietly. Too quietly. the kind of quiet that preceded violence. Now, or I'll paint these walls with your blood. You're holding an infant, Valentini. You can't. Marco moved. Even with Isabella in one arm, he was faster than any of them expected. His gun was out and pressed to Russo's temple before the man could finish his sentence. I said leave. Marco's voice was death itself. Touch my daughter, and I'll wipe your entire family from existence. Every single one. The other men raised their weapons, but Russo raised his hand. He'd seen something in Marco's eyes, something that told him this wasn't a bluff. We'll go, Russo said carefully. But this isn't over, Valentini. You just showed us your weakness. No, Marco said, pulling the trigger on the gun pointed at the floor beside Russo's foot, a warning shot that made everyone flinch. I just showed you what I'm willing to die for. There's a difference. After they left, after Luca secured the floor and called for reinforcements, Marco stood alone with Isabella. She'd finally stopped crying, her small hand wrapped around his finger. He'd thought he had nothing left to lose. He'd been wrong. And somewhere in Boston, Sophia was running from men who wanted to use her to get to him. Marco made a decision. He couldn't protect Isabella by keeping her hidden. The Russos knew, which meant everyone would know soon. He needed Sophia here, not just for Isabella's sake, but because despite everything, 5 years, the pain, the distance, she was still the only person who'd ever made him want to be more than what he was. Sophia Martinez hadn't slept in 3 days. She'd been running since she left Isabella at Marco's door, jumping from one cheap motel to another, always moving, always looking over her shoulder. The men following her were professionals. She'd lost them in Boston, but she knew it was temporary. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Sophia. The voice froze her blood. Deep. Commanding. Unforgettable. Marco. Her voice cracked. Is Isabella safe? She's safe. A pause. We need to talk. I'm sending a car. No. I can't. They're watching me, Marco. If I come to you, they'll know. They already know. His voice was gentle in a way she remembered from 5 years ago. The way he used to talk to her in the dark, when the rest of the world fell away. The Russos attacked my penthouse last night. They saw Isabella. Sophia, running isn't keeping you safe anymore. Come home. Home. As if his world had ever been her home. But what choice did she have? 4 hours later, she stood in Marco's penthouse, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. The place was exactly as she remembered, cold, expensive, intimidating. Except now there was a pink baby blanket draped over a black leather couch. Then she saw him. Time hadn't changed Marco Valentini. If anything, he'd become more dangerous. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair and eyes that could slice through steel. He wore a simple black shirt and dress pants, but he moved like violence waiting to happen. And in his arms, he held Isabella. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. Her baby, her beautiful girl, looked so tiny against Marco's powerful frame. But Isabella wasn't crying. She was content, her small hand clutching his shirt. She likes you, Sophia whispered. Marco's eyes found hers. For a moment, neither of them could speak. 5 years collapsed into nothing. She could see it in his face, the anger, the hurt, the longing he'd never quite buried. Why didn't you tell me? His voice was controlled, but she heard the pain underneath. When you found out you were pregnant, why didn't you? You destroyed me, Marco. The words came out harsh, defensive. You looked me in the eye and told me I meant nothing, that I was just entertainment. How was I supposed to? I lied. 2 words. Flat. Final. Sophia's breath caught. Marco stepped closer, Isabella still in his arms. I lied to protect you. The Genovese family found out about us. They sent me photos of you. At work. At your mother's hospital. With a message, pretty girl. Would be a shame if something happened to her. No, no. I had two choices, Marco continued, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. Keep you in my life and watch them torture and kill you to hurt me. Or push you away and make them think you didn't matter. Sophia's legs gave out. She sank onto the couch, her whole body shaking. You were protecting me? I've had men watching you for 5 years. Making sure you stayed safe. Making sure no one connected you to me. He sat beside her, careful not to jostle Isabella. But somehow, someone found out anyway. The men following me, who are they? I don't know yet. But I'll find out. His free hand reached out, hesitated, then gently cupped her face. I'm sorry, Sophia, for the pain I caused. For making you think. The crying pierced through the night like a siren. Marco Valentini froze on his penthouse doorstep, his hand already on the gun beneath his jacket. Babies didn't cry at his door. Nothing happened at his door without his knowledge. But there it was, a basket, pink blanket, and a pair of tiny fists punching the air. His blood went cold when he saw the envelope tucked beside the infant. His name. Written in handwriting he'd spent 5 years trying to forget. No, he whispered. But the letter in his trembling hands said otherwise. She's yours. I'm sorry. I have no choice. Sophia. This is a story that will grip you from beginning to end. If you want to know how everything started and where this is going, subscribe to the channel and leave in the comments where you're watching from. Every view counts. Marco Valentini didn't do surprises. In his world, surprises meant betrayal, and betrayal meant blood on marble floors. Yet here he stood at 2 a.m., staring at a crying baby girl like she was a bomb about to detonate. His penthouse occupied the entire top floor of the Valentini Tower in Manhattan. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city he controlled. Every street corner, every business, every breath people took without knowing his family's hand guided it all. He was 29 years old and already legendary. The youngest Don in New York history. Ruthless. Untouchable. And now, apparently, a father. Boss. Luca, his right-hand man, appeared in the doorway, gun drawn. He stopped short when he saw the basket. Madonna Santa. Get Dr. Rossi. Now. Marco's voice was ice, but his hands shook as he lifted the baby. She was so small. Fragile. Her face was red from crying, tiny features scrunched up in distress. Something in his chest cracked. He carried her inside, the letter clutched in his other hand. The penthouse was all black leather, steel, and glass, a fortress. He was guiding them straight to the panic room. You bastard, Sophia whispered. Marco saw him too. Their eyes met across the courtyard, and Sophia saw her brother's face pale. Even with an army around him, Victor knew he was dead. Everyone clear the courtyard, Marco said into his radio. His voice was eerily calm. Now. His men obeyed. The enemy forces, sensing a trap, hesitated. Marco walked out alone, unarmed, directly toward Victor. No, Sophia breathed. What are you doing? This ends now, Marco called out. Victor Martinez betrayed his own blood, betrayed an innocent child. And for what? Money. Power. He spread his arms. You want me? Here I am. But the woman and child are off limits. That's the deal. No deal. Anthony Russo stepped forward. We take you down. We take everything. The explosion cut him off. Marco had rigged the entire outer compound. The blast wave knocked down half the enemy forces. Smoke and fire erupted from every corner. And in the chaos, Marco's Real reinforcements arrived. Black SUVs, dozens of them, poured through the gates. Not just Valentini soldiers. Every ally Marco had spent years cultivating. The De Marcos. The Castellanos. Even some Genovese loyalists who'd broken from their family. The tide turned in seconds. Sofia watched as Marco's forces surrounded the enemy. Watched as her brother tried to run and was cut off by Luca. Watched as Marco walked through the fire like an avenging angel. Then the monitors went dark. "Marco!" Sofia screamed, pounding on the bunker door. "Marco!" Silence. Terrible, complete silence. Isabella started crying, sensing her mother's panic. Sofia held her daughter, tears streaming down her face, waiting for the door to open, praying it would be Marco on the other side. An eternity passed. Then she heard it. The sound of the locks disengaging. The door opened. Marco stood there, covered in blood and soot, but alive. Behind him, Luca and his men secured the last of the prisoners. "It's over," Marco said softly. Sofia launched herself at him, Isabella between them. He caught them both, and for a long moment they just held each other. "My brother?" Sofia asked, though she already knew. "Alive. For now. In custody." Marco's voice was gentle. "That decision is yours, Sofia. He's your blood." She looked up at him. This man who'd just fought off an army to protect their daughter. Who'd given her the choice about her own brother's fate. "He put Isabella in danger," she said quietly. "That's unforgivable." Marco nodded. He understood. In their world, blood meant nothing if you betrayed family. Later, after the compound was secured and the prisoners taken away, Sofia stood in the nursery watching Isabella sleep. Marco came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "I spoke to the other families," he said. "They've agreed to recognize Isabella. She'll be protected by everyone. Untouchable. And Victor, exiled, stripped of the Martinez name. If he ever comes near you or Isabella again, he dies." Sofia leaned back against Marco's chest. "It's really over? This threat?" "Yes." He turned her in his arms. "But my life, my world, there will always be danger. I can't promise you safety. Only that I'll die before I let anything happen to either of you." "I know." Sofia reached up, touching his face. This beautiful, dangerous man who'd stolen her heart twice. "I'm not asking for safe, Marco. I'm asking for real. Then marry me." The words came out raw, desperate. "Not because of Isabella. Not because of today. Because I can't imagine another day without you. Because you're the only person who sees me, all of me, and doesn't look away." Sofia smiled through tears. "You really know how to propose to a girl. Is that a yes?" "It's a yes." She kissed him. "But I have conditions. Anything. No more lies. No more pushing me away to protect me. If there's danger, we face it together." "Together," Marco agreed. "Always." Isabella woke up then, making soft baby noises. They both turned to her, this perfect little person they'd created. "She's going to be spoiled rotten," Sofia said. "Growing up with the most powerful Don on the East Coast as her father." "She's going to be strong," Marco corrected, lifting Isabella from her crib. "Like her mother. Beautiful. Brave. And God help any boy who comes near her when she's older." Sofia laughed. Really laughed. For the first time in 5 years, she felt light. Free. They'd been through hell. They'd lost time, trust, innocence. But standing there, Marco holding their daughter, his other arm around Sofia, she knew they'd found something worth more than safety. They'd found home. 3 years later, Isabella Valentini stood on the terrace of the family compound, her dark curls bouncing as she chased butterflies. At 3 years old, she was fearless, a perfect combination of her mother's warmth and her father's intensity. Sophia watched from the doorway, her hand resting on her rounded belly. 6 months pregnant with their second child, a boy this time. Marco came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist, his hands settling over their unborn son. "Happy?" he asked. Deliriously. She leaned back against him. "Who would have thought? Me, married to the most feared man in New York." "Formerly feared," Marco corrected. "Now I'm just a father who can't say no to his daughter's requests for ice cream before dinner." Sophia laughed. It was true. The great Marco Valentini was putty in Isabella's tiny hands. "Papa!" Isabella ran over, holding up a flower. "For Mama." Marco scooped her up, kissing her cheek. "Perfect, Principessa. Just like you." Sophia took the flower, her heart so full it ached. She thought about that night 3 years ago, standing at Marco's door with a crying baby, terrified and alone. She'd thought she was giving up her daughter. Instead, she'd found her way home. The compound was different now. Still secure, still protected. But there were toys in the living room. Children's laughter in the halls. Photos on every surface. Birthdays, holidays, everyday moments of a family being built. "Do you ever regret it?" Marco asked quietly while Isabella played at their feet. "Giving up your old life?" The simplicity. Sophia looked up at him. This man who'd fought armies for her. Who'd given up his own brother-in-law's life because she'd asked. Who sang Italian lullabies at 3 a.m. and never complained about diaper duty. "Not even once," she said. "You gave me everything, Marco. Everything that matters." He kissed her then, soft and sweet. And in that moment, with their daughter playing nearby and their son growing inside her, Sophia knew the truth. Every scar had been worth it. Every tear. Every moment of fear. Because it had led her here, to this man, this family, this life. The letter she'd left at his door 3 years ago had changed everything. But not in the way she'd thought. It hadn't destroyed their chance at happiness. It had been the beginning of it. And this is where their story settles, not ends, because love like this never truly ends. It grows, evolves, becomes something stronger than either of them alone. If this journey moved you, if you felt every heartbeat and every fear alongside them, leave your like and share with someone who would appreciate this story. More stories are coming. We'll see you in the next one.